Hello there! Welcome to my channel, and this is part 2 of the video series around the reMarkable Paper Pro. So in this video, we're going to do what I call a visual tour. And a visual tour is basically just a demonstration of all of the software features that's available on the device. Well, maybe not all, but certainly a vast majority of them. So in this video, we're just going to go through all the functionality, and I've got chapter sections to help you go directly to the type of information you might be interested in. Now, while this video is not a review, you do get a sense of the performance of the device as we go through the different sections, so that is available to you. If you are someone that's really familiar with the reMarkable product, I don't know if there's going to be a lot here that you might be interested in, so you might just check a couple of the chapters out for that performance aspect. But this video is definitely going to be helpful if you've never used a reMarkable device before and you're curious about what it can do. That's the point of this review. So having said that, let's go ahead and get on in. So our tour is going to begin looking at the system functions, and we'll start in the upper right corner where we can see little notification icons, both that the front lighting is on currently, and you can also see the battery status, and there's a bunch of 5 bars available in this view. If we swipe down though, like so, we can see the percentage battery. We also can see what Wi-Fi network we're on. We go into airplane mode. Here is the front lighting, which is currently on full. Let's set that down to 0. And then here is a button that you can use to connect. We'll go ahead and click on that. To a screen share functionality, which is available if you have a computer that has the reMarkable desktop application and you're on the same Wi-Fi network, then you can use this to connect to that. And that allows you to see whatever documents are on this device then get reflected in the Connect app. So then we can go down below and you can see there's a magnifying glass and next to a plus sign. So the magnifying glass is a search function. So if I click on that, there's a number of options. We can type in what we're searching for, and this will look for either tags or will look for anything in the title of the document. Currently, all the documents are being listed. You can also filter on folders or on notebooks or on PDFs or on ebooks. And then if you have any tags, this important thing in a circle is a tag. If you click on that, then any time that tag is utilized, it will then show up in the search history. So all your tags would be listed here, and just clicking on that can bring that up. If we click on it again, it goes back to the default view. You do have the ability either to look in alphabetical order, which is what we're defaulted at, the last modified date, or the date created for those documents. The plus side, next to the magnifying glass, allows you simply to create either a new notebook, a folder, or a quick sheet. If you create a quick sheet, then basically it just immediately drops you into the document, and you don't have to name the document, nor do you determine what the template is. Now, those are two things you could change later, but by clicking on quick sheet, you go right in without having to deal with that in the beginning. You know, a folder, you can create a folder and then name it, and then the notebook creates this wizard which allows you to name the notebook. You can decide whether you're going to go to the last page visited or the first page anytime you go into the document, and then you can select a template, and right now it's selecting the most recent templates that were used. But if we click on View All, then we can see all the templates that are available. And we'll go ahead and look a little closer at this later, but that functionality is available here through this plus sign. Okay, now the screen itself shows all the files that are under the root directory, but you also notice that there are folders here on top, or in this case, there's just one. Let me go ahead and click on that, and then give it a second. Okay, and then we move into that folder, and then you can see an example when there are multiple folders in addition to files. So you can navigate by clicking on the folders, and then eventually clicking on a file to open it, or you can navigate using the cookies up above. So if I wanted to go back to my root, I'd click on My Files here, and it would take me there. Now we can further filter on what we see here by clicking on this hamburger in the upper left corner. Let's go ahead and do that. You can see currently we're in My Files, but we can also filter. So if we click on Filter, we can do it so that we're only seeing our notebooks, our PDFs, or our ebooks. You'll notice you can also click on for favorites or for tags. And let's take a look at how you can make a file a favorite or tag a file. So let me go ahead and long press this one document here. And you can see there are a number of options available. I can archive it, which basically leaves it on their cloud services, but doesn't have it on this device. I can create a tag. I can mark it as a favorite. I can duplicate it or rename it. I can also send it. Let's take a look at those options. So you can see you can add an email address. If you have any recent emails you sent, those options are available for quick selection. You can add a message. You can also determine if you want to send the entire document or just a certain range of pages in the document. And then you've got some options in terms of what the file will be. A PDF file, a PNG file, which is a single page for each page of the document, an SVG file, which is similar to PNG, but SVGs tend to scale better. And then text in email is possible as well. And then you've got this grayscale option, and you can also rename the attachment. So that's available to you. Let's go back to that real quickly. And then you can move it, which means you're moving it into, say, another folder, or you can delete the file. So that's how you can help navigate and sort through some of your files. Those are the tools available to you. You can also delete the file as noted, and it'll end up down here in the trash bin. All your files will remain in the trash bin unless you go through and remove them. And then once you remove them from the trash bin, they'll no longer be available. We've got some guides here you can walk through on how to work with the device and some of the features and how the gestures work. So those are all available to you here. Okay, further, if we go into settings, let's walk through those. We'll start here in general, and this is where you can select your reMarkable account. If you have different language options, they're here. The on-screen keyboard has the following language options. And then the handwriting conversion can work with these language possibilities. Okay, if we back out, you also have the latest version. If your marker is attached and recognized, you can see that there. There you go, and it shows the percentage. It also gives you a little battery indicator on the side. Let's go ahead and click on this. So there's your serial number and firmware version. And then the display. So here you have the opportunity to go to be able to have a sleep mode. And then this is also another place where you can toggle the brightness, which we can also do in that drop-down bar. Now the reason why you'd want to engage in the sleep mode is that would allow you, go ahead and turn it on there, to basically save battery power if you walk away from the device, as opposed to manually shutting it down. You'll know that after 20 minutes, it will shut down automatically for you. You've got an About section here with a bunch of documentation. And then you can go, again, into airplane mode, similar to what we saw when we did the drop-down bar. And you can restart if you're having issues with the device or completely shut it down. You can also long press the power button to also achieve the turn off as well. You have your normal Wi-Fi options. Those are pretty standard, so we'll skip that. The battery, this is another place where you can go on to auto sleep. It's the same toggle as we saw before, but you also have the additional option of auto power off. And this basically goes into a deep sleep where you would then need to turn on the device and boot back up. I haven't measured it yet for this device, but that usually takes on some devices anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute to boot up. So it's a little more convenient when you're in sleep mode, because then you just click on the power button and it comes on in a few seconds. But if you really want to save battery, this is a good option to select as well. If we click on the storage option, you can see how much space that you've used. You can see there's about 46 gigabytes of space left after considering the system software. So that's the actual available capacity. You can use your USB to actually move files with a web browser on your target. And then if you had a cloud connection through their Connect services, you can check the connection here. There are a few security options. You can do a passcode on your device, and then you can also decide if any information will show up when you go into sleep mode. So you, for example, could put your name and phone number, and if you lost the device, someone who received the device and couldn't necessarily get in, particularly if it was passcode protected, could see who it belonged to and call that individual if they were an upstanding citizen. And then this again is the same toggle we saw before, where it would go to sleep in 20 minutes. Actually, let's go ahead and toggle that off. I'm still doing battery testing, and I like to turn off these features when I do that type of testing. Lastly, we have accessibility, and this basically is whether you're left or right-handed, and you can also go to a larger font size. So we're currently in standard here. If we click on large, that's what it would look like there. And not a particularly bad option, given that you have a lot of real estate, but I find standard to be just fine. And those are your settings on this device. Okay, so now that we've gone through the system settings, let's go ahead and go into a few different document types and see what's available. And we're going to start with the most basic one, which of course is a notebook. I'm going to go ahead and open up this one called Samples. And here we go. Now, a couple things to note. If I wanted to get out of this file, I would just click on this X. Also, you'll notice that there is a system tray here on the left bar. If I wanted to hide that, I can just click on that, and now all you see is that icon, and the rest of the canvas is wide open. Real quickly about the canvas, it's not limited to just the screen that you see. I'm going to take my fingers and scroll, and you might notice that the sidebar, you can actually almost double the page size by going that way. And then you can also move this left to right, and you've got a little bit more extra screen there as well. So if you wanted to basically draw beyond what you see, that is possible. We'll go ahead and restore that to the normal settings. Let's bring that system bar back. So you've got two pen options here. They all function identically. So basically you've got two presets that you can click on at any time. Let's go ahead and click on that to see what's available. And you can see there's 9 different pen styles. All pen styles have various levels of thickness. And then they also, most of them, come in 9 color choices. There are a couple that have limitations. So the highlighter, for example, comes in a selection of 6, and there's slightly different colors that's otherwise available. And then if we go down to, here we go, this is the shader, you'll see that there's a slightly different look to the colors, and there's no white option. And we'll see that with each pen style. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. And by the way, whatever I select here will then be reflected as your default if you click on that item on the system bar. So we'll start off with the ballpoint pen. You can see what that looks like with the different levels of thickness, and you can also see what it looks like in the different colors. I've gone ahead and shaded the background gray to be able to see the white as well as to see the yellow. And then I do a pressure or tilt sensitivity test to see if that's available. So for the ballpoint pen, there is pressure sensitivity. You can see it gets lighter there and it gets darker, but there's no tilt sensitivity, meaning writing like this is the same as writing like this. We go to the next page, we're on the fine liner. Again, you can see the thicknesses, and you can also see the colors. There is no pressure or tilt sensitivity with this pen selection. Then we see the pencil, again, with the thicknesses, and then you can see the different colors. It is definitely pressure sensitive. It also has tilt sensitivity as well, and you can see that in the examples. There's, you see light pressure to heavy pressure. There's the tip, and there's the side. So that's how that operates. You also have the ability for a mechanical pencil. Again, you can see these things. A little bit of pressure sensitivity. You can see just a little bit of lightness, and then it gets dark, but no tilt sensitivity. Now we're up upon the calligraphy pen. I can't help but think that in the hands of a more skilled individual, this would look a lot better. This is the best I could do with it, but probably somewhere out there has done a better job of utilizing the pen and making it look better, but this is what I was able to do with it. I didn't see any pressure or tilt sensitivity with it, although you'll notice that the pen does have different levels of thickness that to me was fairly random. Oops, let me actually pick the calligraphy pen. There we go. And actually, are we on black? Yeah, okay. So it's possible there's pressure sensitivity because you can certainly see differences in the writing. I'm just not well versed in how to leverage that. So my apologies for my lack of knowledge of this, but at least you get a sense of the colors. Then you've got the marker, again, with the thickness, and you can see the colors. No pressure sensitivity, but definitely tilt sensitivity. You can see it starts kind of lighter, and then when you're writing on the side, it gets to be a much thicker line. Then we have a shader, and you can see the different levels of thickness and the different colors, and there doesn't appear to be any tilt or pressure sensitivity to this one. And then we will finally finish with a paintbrush, and we do have pressure sensitivity, and we have tilt sensitivity here as well. So that is all the pen styles that are available. Again, just to go back to it, just 9 of them, a lot of options, and of course, a lot of color options given our new Gallery 3 screen. Let's go ahead and create a new page. Oh, actually, this is an example of the highlighter in action. So that would be this guy. And so what I've done in this example is I've done a text box where I've created the word line and I've written the word line. Here you can see the 6 different highlights, first with text and then over what I've wrote. Now you might notice that the ones with text are perfect. So if we click on the highlighter, there is this thing called snap to text, and let's go ahead and pick an orange one here. So if I go down here to this text that says line and I go like this, that's what that snap to text means. But it doesn't work for handwriting, so if I want to do the same thing, I would have to do something like that. Otherwise, it's going to become a thinner line. And of course, there's an example of the colors rendering. So if you have an existing page and you swipe, then you'll notice that the page turns over. But if you're at the edge, as we are here, 9 of 9, and you swipe, then you get this little icon, and that allows you to add a new page. So our next option then becomes a text box. Let's go ahead and click on that. You have the ability to add text and either make it wide or narrow. We'll go ahead and make it wide and add text. Okay, and let's go ahead and put a little exclamation point on that. Beautiful. All right, so you'll notice that next to the text, there's this little icon. So if we click on that, a couple options. We can change the default formatting of the text. So we click on that, it's a little smaller. We'll click on the third one, much smaller. Let's go back to the large one. And then we can also bullet it. And there's that bullet. Or we can check mark it. And there's the check mark. If I click on the check mark, you'll notice that it will strike it out since that to-do is completed. Let's go ahead and uncheck that if we can. There we go. And it returns to its normal state. So those are the options available in the text box. And of course, that's the functionality you would also be leveraging if you're using the keyboard folio. But without the keyboard folio, then you're using the on-screen keyboard. Our next icon down is our erase icon. A couple functions here. If we click on it once and then once again, we can either do a selection eraser, which is my favorite, or you can do just a regular eraser, and then you've got the options of different levels of thickness. And then finally, you can just erase the entire screen, but that only works for handwriting. If we click erase all, you'll notice the text still remains. Now let's go ahead and just do a little bit of writing, and I'll show you the differences between the two erasers. Okay, and actually we'll just do 3. Okay, so if I click on the eraser, and I'm going to go ahead and go onto the normal eraser, we'll just leave that as medium. And you'll notice, there we go. So it only erases a little bit. Okay, if I go to the selection eraser, also sometimes known as an area eraser, it'll erase everything that I circle. And again, if we go into the erase all, it'll eliminate all the handwriting on the page. Let's go ahead and write something. So we can use the lasso tool, which you see here in this kind of four-corner diagram. So if I click on that once, I can circle the item, and then I've got a number of options. I can cut it, I can copy it, and I can translate the handwriting to text. We'll go ahead and do that. And I'm not connected to my account, but if I were, then that would be, it would have converted it to text. Now let's go ahead and copy that, like so. And you can see down here, if I tap on any page with the marker, it's going to paste. Let's paste it right here. And there you go. Also, you'll notice that there are some functions here as well. So if I click on this circle, I can rotate it, like so. Have a lot of fun with that. If I do a square, I can stretch it out. And then if I just put my cursor anywhere in the middle, I can just move the box, like so. If I want to clear the clipboard, I just click on down here. Here you've got a redo and an undo, so pretty straightforward. If we go down past the break, we see some additional functions. So the first function is this kind of waffle thing, so let's go ahead and click on that. And so now you see all the pages in the document, and we can also tag those pages. So how would we do that? Let's go ahead and hold down one of these pages. And now you can see there's the option to tag. You can duplicate it, you can move it. So if I want to put this at the end, I can do that. Let's go ahead and do that. There you go. And I can also place a tag on it as well. We can also change from a grid view to a list view. I find the grid view nicer, but if you have a very large document, the list view might be better. And if I touch any of these pages, it'll take me right there. Now down here is where I can apply a tag. The tag itself will only apply to the sheet as a whole. I can't tag an individual item. Let me go ahead and click on that. You can see I can either use an existing tag or I can create a new tag, which I can then type out. We'll go ahead and call this important. And now you can see that the page has been tagged. This button is where you have your templates and layers. You can have up to 5 layers. Let's go ahead and add all those in there. See, we've reached the max. And you can move the layers around, up or down with these arrows. You can also delete a layer by using the trash can. So if we keep going, it'll retain the information, but it's basically collapsing the layers together. You can also select your text here as well. And you'll notice there's these little eyeballs. If you click on that, what you wrote on that layer will disappear. So if we get rid of the highlights, there it goes. And I can also have the template disappear. This is also another place where I can change the template. Let's take a quick look at that. Let's look at the different groups that are available. This is all, but let's just go through the different categories. So these are the ones that are available, what they're calling the creative section. Here's their grid section. I'm a fan of the hexagons myself. Their life or organized section is here. And then the line section is here as well. Those are the selections for portrait. Let's see if that changes with landscape. And it does, so we'll go back to life and organize. That's what it looks like. To grids. Finally to creative. So a really large selection and generally well done templates to choose from. Okay, below the templates then is this share button. So if we click on that, we can, it'll show what our account is. This is another place where we can do screen share. We can send by email and we can convert to text. All that's available here. And our final icon, this is the name of the file is here. Tells you what page you're on. You can go into your notebook settings. So that's basically similar to what it looks like when you start the notebook. You can rename the page and determine what page you'll get into when you go into the notebook. You can switch, in this case, to landscape, and of course, you can switch to portrait if you're in landscape. You've got another search option. Again, it's only going to search on text or tags. And then finally, you can add a page, which was the same as if I swipe and click on that add a page button, but you can certainly do it here as well. And that is all the functionality related to the note-taking application. Oh, one last thing, it does have line perfection. So if I draw kind of a little wavy line and I hold it, it becomes a nice straight line. All right, let's go into another document type. Okay, let's start to look at what it's like to go into a PDF document. And here I have the e-ink financial statements, which is a 308-page PDF. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And here we are. You'll notice it's very similar UI to what we saw earlier in the note-taking app. If I click on the pen tray, you see all the same options that are available. Let's go ahead and do the highlighter and see how that looks here. Okay, there it is. So we won't go through that, but we will go all the way down here to the bottom because there are a few selections that are different here. So first off, of course, we have the name of the file and what page we're in. If we go on to PDF settings, we see kind of a similar screen where we could rename the file or determine whether we always come into the first page or the last page visited. We can adjust the view. We can either have the document fit on width, fit on height, or do a custom. And you can basically kind of zoom it in to get it the way you want and then to set it accordingly. In addition to that, there's a new item which is called Apply Contrast Filter. And we showed this in the previous video, but basically in documents that have black and white content that is particularly kind of light, the contrast filter can then darken it. There are three modes. There's an off, on, and automatic. It's not clear to me what triggers the automatic. So far, I've found that generally speaking with color content, you want this to be off. And if it's mostly black and white content, you tend to want it on or on automatic. Those seem to function the same way. I'm sure there is a difference between these two. I haven't figured out that nuance yet. But anyway, that's what I've generally relied on so far. You can either go to landscape mode or portrait mode if you're in landscape mode already. You do have some search functionality, but it will depend on the document. In this particular case, I wasn't able to find e-ink, even though it's located there. Let's try and just ink just on the current page. We'll search. No results found. So it just depends on your document. Lastly, we can create a note page inside of the document. So now we've got the header, and then there's this new note page that we've created on the next page. You'll also notice I can take my finger and swipe, and that's how you advance pages. You don't advance by tapping. You can do short swipes, but I find sometimes you need to do a longer swipe to get consistent results, but we seem to be doing pretty well here. You can see even though it's a 300 plus page document, it's quite responsive. You do have the ability to pinch and zoom, which we'll try here. You'll notice that there is a little magnifying icon on the top. So if I click on that, it will always return me to 1.0. So if I'm trying to zoom in on something, of course I can pan, and I want to go back. That's how I would do that. So that's the basic functionality of using PDFs. Okay, let's take a look at one more document type. We're going to look at an EPUB. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And here we are. Again, a pretty large document, 257 pages. And we once again see a very familiar user interface. Let's go ahead and explore what's in this bottom button, which again is contextual. So here we see the name of the document and of course our pages. If we click on ebook settings, very similar to what we've seen before. We could rename the file if we wanted to from here. We've talked about contrast filter before. This is the same. Search is the same. Again, very dependent on how the document's set up, whether you'll be able to search or not. You do have this additional text settings. And here you have a number of ways you can format, whether it be the font size, the type of font that you're looking at, your justification, margins, and line spacing. All that's available to you. And finally, we can add a note page very similar to what we saw with the PDF. And there we go. This one's having a little bit more difficulty, so the longer swipes are preferable here. But short swipes can work as well. Just have to be a little more deliberate in this particular document. Do have the zoom ability. And that's pretty much what it's like to be in a PDF file. Okay, so that's the visual tour. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions or comments, put those down and I'll try to help you out where I can. So where are we now in the series? Sometimes I do a two-parter beyond the visual tour to talk about the device, but that's really not going to be needed here. I think we're just about ready to finish with the review. So in about a week, we're going to get to that. And in that video, I'm going to go over a couple examples of looking at comics, in a PDF format on the device. I was pleasantly surprised with that, so I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. We're going to look into the battery results and see how well this device performs compared to other devices. And then we're going to go into a list of pros and cons that helps kind of illustrate where the strengths and weaknesses are of the device, both things that you might want to consider and other things that maybe don't influence a buying decision but are good to know. And then I'll just wrap it up with talking about what I recommend the device for or don't recommend it for, and who I think the audience is for the device. So that'll be basically the next video. It's going to release again in about a week. I hope to see you there, and until next time.